How's everyone doing? How is everyone? Hope everyone's safe. Hope everyone's healthy.
Just finished work really, but all is on.
Oh, what? Do you still have to go into the office?
No, work from home.
Okay. I was checking.
Imagine, I would have really reported your workplace, Reggie. I'm not gonna lie.
Don't actually get out of office, man. I'm not going in probably till like end of May, to be fair. So
serious.
Yeah,
they are saying this thing could stretch for a long while. So, boy,
I don't mind.
You say you don't mind?
Nah, of course, I do miss the whole luxury of going outside and stuff. But in terms of I don't know, there are some real good pros in this that I found anyway. So I don't really mind like that. But yeah, man. Yeah.
What's everyone been up to today? It's the weekend actually. What's everyone been up to?
I was chefing it up, man. I was chefing for Easter.
What did you make?
So we're gonna have Easter Sunday. Made a chickpea curry. Some jerk lentils is a new recipe that I learned. Jerk lentils, some rice and peas. Well, it's just a medley of different things, to be honest. But
okay, man's a medley, you know. Okay, so wow.
He's a genius. He's a chef. He does it all, man.
Boy. Yeah, how was your weekend? How was your Easter weekends?
Vegan, are you vegetarian?
Easter eggs. I'm a vegetarian. Nah.
Yeah.
I knew you asked that question because I was making. It was vegan.
Chickpea, I was listening to that chickpea lentil something.
Yeah.
No, do you know what? Yeah, they are. No. But they are vegan recipes. But I still had the chicken as well. But I don't need to be saying I cook chicken as well. Like it's just chicken in it. Just sprinkle a little bit of seasoning and that's it.
It didn't bang. Don't say the chicken didn't bang. We know.
It banged. Of course it banged, man. Of course it banged. A nice, lovely barbecue wings.
Nice,
it banged.
So,
good to hear, man.
My weekend was really laid back, actually. What did I do? Everything, all the days are blending in, so I have to really think, like, what did I do? It's different. Wow. At home. Misses, read some books again, did the same thing, exercised a bit. Yeah, I have nothing to show for, I'm sorry. It's showing to
Actually, to be honest, we did have a little games night yesterday over Zoom as well, which was very interesting. We did Villages and Mafia over Zoom. It actually worked. It actually worked out.
How did you guys do it over Zoom?
So there was one person that obviously told everyone. So basically, you got notified on WhatsApp if you're a Village or Mafia or whatever. And then everyone's just obviously sitting in front of their screens and then just worked like normal.
Wait. Is it like that game in primary school where someone will go out the room and then they will be like, I don't know if you guys...
What's this? No, this guy's talking about heads down, thumbs up. No,
he's talking about whip murder.
I know. Don't worry, I got you. I know the game that you're talking about. Where you have to go outside of the room. Yeah, I'm with you.
You're talking about whip murder.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know that one. We didn't play that one in my school.
Your school's ghetto, bro.
Probably it was in Hackney, so I mean,
I know the feeling, man.
How about you guys?
What, in terms of weekend, though?
Yeah, weekend. What you went to?
Just writing, bro. Writing. I use the whole weekend to write.
Everyone's writing. You're writing, Renee's writing.
I was about to
writing as well.
Are
you writing as well?
I'm writing maybe a year now, bro. I feel so uncomfortable being on this video thing, you know.
Don't worry, all of our trims are,
It looks like you've got a trim, though. It looks like you've got a trim. Yeah.
You think, nah, it's not. If I come close, you'll see the growth. Nah. There's no shape up, nothing, man. Nothing.
Why is you rolling the eyes for?
I was even gonna give myself a trim. I'm still contemplating it, but
I can't do it.
Come on, you guys, independent young men. Come on, pick up that barbering skill that's inside of all of you.
That's what I'm thinking. Because the thing is as well, with how long they are saying this thing might potentially last, you might even have time to even mess up your hair and then even grow it out again.
There you go. It's either that or
you're not prepared to take that risk.
Listen, it's either that or you start your natural hair journey. So pick your poison, innit?
Yeah, I'm actually like I don't mind it. I just want to see how big I can get it. I just want to grow it.
Reggie, grow your afro, Sha.
Yeah, man. I want to go to the office and like let them bounce it. Like, oh, it's bouncy.
Yeah, just start touching your hair. Oh, is this how it feels?
You know what I mean? Yeah, man. But yeah,
I actually picked up. I told Reggie what actually on the weekend. I said I picked up my clipper that has like different levels, and I didn't. Don't worry, I'm not hiding anything wrong, yeah.
I was about to say, is this unveiling?
I trimmed my hair down to not skin fade level, not skin fade, no risky business, but I just managed to kind of reduce it a little bit. So.
Yeah, that looks alright. Well, from here, it looks alright.
That's not bad.
What do you mean? What do you mean from here? This guy.
No, I mean, no, because obviously we cannot tell. It's only in person that you'll be able to see these real details, you know what I mean? Yeah, but from where I'm sitting, it looks good. It looks fine.
What have you been up to this weekend?
I was definitely chefing it up as well. What did I make? I made another cake.
I saw croissant.
Look, you even remembered. I made croissants. I made churros.
You made croissants?
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's serious levels.
That's good, man.
Thank you. Stop, I'm blushing.
How do you make? Do you bake croissants? So what is it? What's the process?
Yeah, you have to bake it.
Is it baking? Is it frying? I don't even know which one.
You pre.
It's definitely bacon, bro. It's definitely bacon.
Okay.
You just stick your little chickpea and lentil disc in, yeah.
Wow.
Is that a shot?
Wow. Go on, shot fired.
For the real bakers out here, you have to make
wow.
You have to leave it for you can either leave it overnight or leave it for a couple of hours. It's kind of similar to puff in the sense that you have to leave it out to like chill or either rise. And then you fry
puff though.
Yeah, but I mean in terms of making the dough.
But you know what? How do you get that? You know the shape. That's what I want to know. How do you get the shape?
It's actually pretty easy. So when you roll out the dough, you have to roll it out into kind of like a rectangle shape, and then you cut little triangles into the dough, and then you wrap it up. So that's if you want to say make like chocolate croissants, which is what I made, you put the chocolate on the middle of the triangle, and then you roll it up, and then when you bake it, the puff pastry rises. So cool. It's actually just beautiful.
Okay.
So, if you ever want to make croissants, way to make it. And I made a 3-tier, like I'm very proud of this one. I made a 3-tier Easter egg cake. It's beautiful. It was just muy bien. What else did I made meat pie. That was fun.
So that's it right there.
That's it right there. Yeah, I made a lot of stuff. It was fun. Basically my weekend was just cooking.
Wow. You guys need to teach me, man. Or maybe should I say teach me Reggie, because Reggie didn't say anything as well. So
cooking, right? Nah, I didn't. Yesterday, John, I didn't eat probably yesterday. I had like 3 apples, 2 bananas, 4 oranges.
You're one of these guys.
Mate, yesterday I was just so into the writing. I couldn't be bothered to eat. My mom cooked. I still live at home. My mom cooks, but
yeah,
I just didn't eat. Today was no different to you.
So you're there chopping all of those fruits, yeah? How many? 4 oranges or bananas was it?
No, it was 4. It was 4. Like 4 tangerines, 3 apples, 2 bananas.
Wow.
2 super malts. No, 1 super malt.
Okay, that's calm.
Yeah, and then
you know, super malts a bit thick, so
yeah, a bit of chocolate
pulls you up.
Yeah, the barley just energized. Yeah. Yeah, I need to work on like my cooking skills and stuff. I can cook to survive, but I can't cook to live in luxury.
To enjoy.
To enjoy?
No, I can't cook to enjoy. I just cook to survive. But
Wow.
we all have our weaknesses. I need to learn.
Fair enough.
Cool.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
we have on today Reggie, who's on last year.
Wow. Was it last week?
I definitely wasn't here last week.
Quarantine is getting to you.
Together, boy.
I said I definitely wasn't here last week, bro.
So we had Reggie on sometime last year. Shagan, do you remember the month? Was it August? September?
It was
October.
I feel like it was right around September.
Yeah, October. I think
Around September or maybe end of thing. I just remember the Premier League started. I gauge all my things by football. I know the Premier League just kind of started around that time. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And we recorded a really, really good episode with Renee last week. But since we have two today and our second Zoom recording, you guys know each other somehow. So please, first of all, introduce yourself to those who don't know you.
I think just
find out how you know each other.
just so I'm right. I think is my camera off? Sorry, hold on.
Yeah, it is off.
It's on now. So when I was speaking to Elie on the weekend, and he mentioned you, Renee, and like was saying Oxford, Harvard, da da da. Did I do a talk with you at Tag? Was it you?
Wait, a talk at where?
The Advantage Group. Because I was like, this was 2018. I was on a panel with someone that went to Oxford and Harvard, but I couldn't remember their face. And then when he was explaining about you, I was like, oh, I think I've heard. I think that's the person I did. Blah, blah. So I actually might be wrong, but if you are that person, then yeah, I've met you before. If you're not, then unfortunately, yeah.
You know what? It's It might not have been. What month was it?
wow.
2018. It was like no. It was around August, September.
Okay, yeah, it actually wasn't me because I was in the US at that time. It was probably Fiona.
Is she a bit lighter than you?
Actually, no, it was MT Marie.
You see, when you go Harvard, everyone
Wow.
does
Connected. You need a connection.
The community is small. What can I say?
Yeah. Nah, but
MC.
I'll go ahead and introduce myself anyway. So Reggie, how do I introduce myself? Is it like career based or just personal or
Everything.
Okay. Reggie, I'm Dutch, so I was born in Holland. But originally, yeah, bro, I'm Dutch. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Are you speak Dutch?
It's not.
Nah, I don't speak any Dutch. I'm sorry. Yeah, bro. You didn't know that?
Yeah. Can you speak
bro,
the language?
I can't speak Dutch. No.
Oh wow.
I left there when I was 4 years old, so I can't. Well, I forgot.
Oh yeah.
But
Wow.
yeah. So like, I don't have a British passport. I've got a Dutch passport.
Wow.
Oh, mad.
Yeah.
No.
So you're good after all of this.
Yeah. I mean, it works in my favor, right? It works in my
You're
favor.
good.
Nah, you're
But-
I don't believe.
I'm black. Bro, I'll show you my license.
Oh man, we'll pick out the passport right now.
I'll show you my driver's license.
Hey, look how what you people have done. About to
My
break
driver's
this.
license. It says it here. Don't watch. Actually, I don't care about the picture. It says Holland. Sorry, someone's.
Oh wow.
Can you see? Where's it say? Oh, there it is. There. It says Holland there.
Okay. Oh wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm Dutch, bro. So yeah, anyway, born in Holland. Moved here when I was like 4, so I've been in UK, like London all my life. So I'm technically a Londoner. I currently work in investment management, so I work in front office, client business, effectively just helping to look after money on behalf of corporations. So choosing where to invest money and stuff. I am group chair for ACCA, Emerging Talent Advisory Group, which is ACCA is like an accounting institute, and I group chair their advisory arm. And then what else I do? Previously done some stuff with Cabinet Office, so worked with Theresa May at the time when she was in office. and yeah, I travel quite a bit to do some speaking stuff. And interesting facts, I guess, I'm writing a book, which is fun. Yeah, that's me. Sorry, another interesting fact, actually. Has anyone ever seen Deal or No Deal?
Yeah. You've been on Deal or No Deal?
I co-hosted Deal or No Deal. Yeah. That was fun. I done it with No Edwards. Yeah.
Wow.
My sister was playing. She won $8,000, but I was co-hosting it.
Deal or No Deal used to be one of my best game shows on TV.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. One of the highlights of my life, to be fair. So random, so accidental, but it was sick. But yeah, anyway, that's me in a nutshell. So,
yes, Mr. Renee, please.
You guys can't cut and paste my last intro from. I'm trolling. Oh, should to go and open with interesting facts. Now I have to think of interesting things. Wouldn't know. Okay, cool. Yeah, my name is Renee. I do a myriad of different things. In terms of I guess it makes the most sense to just talk about my story, my trajectory. So, born and raised in London, half Nigerian, half Congolese. Born and raised specifically in North London, Tottenham. Studied my undergrad at Oxford, and then I'm studying my postgraduate at Harvard. Currently now work in the startup/investment team. So I do a little bit of freelance consulting for startups in fintech and in education technology. I'm super passionate about politics, education, and finance. Do a lot of speaking engagements, that kind of stuff. I'm super passionate about productivity and self-help as well. Also do a lot of writing. Writing is one of my biggest passions. And interesting facts. Gosh. Interesting facts. Oh, I'm very good at a lot of things, and that's not like a what do you call it? Not me trying to be boastful. I just have a genuine interest to learn things, and I like to learn them. I take it a bit too far, hence, baking. Really love baking. What else?
Oxford and Harvard?
Yeah, interesting fact, I guess. Small. Oh, I once met Jeff Bezos whilst I was at Harvard, actually.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Serious?
He's a lot smaller than I thought he was.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, do you know what? Interesting fact, I tend to meet a lot of really influential people, but I'm always underwhelmed by them. That's an interesting fact. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
So would you say, has there been anyone that you would say was a bit wow, I'm actually meeting you?
Stormzy. That was surreal.
Okay. Really?
That was great. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know what? It was more so a wow because he was so down to earth and such a nice guy. And with particularly people in the music industry, I kind of expected him to be a little bit more big-headed. But he actually came down for an access and outreach conference that I was hosting. And I say this guy was one of the most humble people I've ever met in that kind of capacity. It was unbelievable.
Wow, that's amazing. I guess interesting fact, I know where Stormzy lives.
No way!
Oh, wow.
So I had it was funny. I had dinner at, there's a guy called Roger Clark. He's a Sky Sports presenter, and his wife works for Bloomberg. And I did the talk at Bloomberg, and then she invited me over to her house for dinner, but I thought she was joking. And she was being real. So then I went over to her house months after, and they live in near Kingston. And wow. She was like, she went, oh, do you know who Stormzy? I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah, because he lives how many other doors away, and they see him every morning because he's got a dog, and then he goes to the park to walk his dog and that, and they see him.
That's so hot.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I guess I know where Stormzy lives. That's as far as I've met him once actually, but no. But other than that, I've never actually spoken to him or anything like that. But,
I was gonna say, actually, no, Reggie, go finish.
No, I'm finished, bro. What you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say, Renee, when you say underwhelming, what do you mean? Do you mean in a way where the personality was going to be bigger than what you expected, or the thing where what was basically, yeah.
I think you're completely hit the nail on the head right there. I think personality, and I think presence. I think a lot of famous people, or like super like well-known people, their reputation precedes them. And for someone like, for example, Jeff Bezos, I was thinking, okay, this is like one of, if not at the time, the richest man in the world. I'm expecting you to, I don't know, pull up in a 7-seater with like 10 men around you or something. You can like really be speaking with a lot of like, I guess, But for me, it was actually pretty underwhelming, because I guess it was also by nature of the very talking, like we were just speaking a lot about like politics, and in terms of the context, it was a conference on NASA and space developments at that time. So for me, I was kind of like, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was expecting a lot more personality, a lot more spunk, I suppose. So yeah, I would say definitely personality, but then again, it may just be due to the context, and he didn't really have, opportunity to really, like, I guess, have the gasness that I would expect the richest man in the world to have.
Have the rest of you guys experienced something like that as well, where you've kind of met someone who's well known, but they've been very much down to earth?
Theresa May.
Yeah, of course.
Very down to earth. Theresa May is very, very, very down to earth. I thought, Trace, because I only knew her from obviously the headlines and stuff. And this was like mid-Brexit. And when I did the first interview with her, like, she was so cool. And then it was more so like off camera. So we did everything on camera. And off camera, she would just talk to me like I'm a normal human being. Like, oh, how's work? Are legal in general treating you well? Blah, 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 blah. And when I like went to meet her like months later just for a catch up, I went to Westminster, she remembered our conversation. And it was just mad. Like, yeah, so she brought up things that we talked about when we met and all those stuff. And like, at first, because we started doing letter writing before that. So I would like write letters and she'll handwrite a letter back and just like back and forth, and then we'll meet and then and then I knew her, they don't really call it PA, but it's basically a PA. And even her PA is down to earth. She's been Theresa May's PA for like over 20-something years. So you can tell, like, I don't know, Theresa May has some sort of quality about her that people want to be around her. Do you know what I mean? And I got that as well. She's very, very down to earth. Very, very nice lady. And she's normal, man. Very, very normal. Very, very normal.
Yeah. So just before like we go, I think Shane will say something. You say, especially looking from the outside in, for a lot of people who have their already whether prejudice or prejudgment, that is very much different from you and meeting her and stuff.
Sorry, repeat that again, bro. Sorry.
Would you say, basically in a nutshell, would you say that looking from the outside in, obviously she's got a lot of stick for some of the things that she said when she was, active prime minister. Would you say her personality and the way she is much different, from what a lot of people have said her?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I feel the media are very wicked sometimes. I say that because I've kind of experienced that myself. Like, one thing I learned was the media always want a story; they don't want the story, right? And you have to be kind of careful with that. And like, I've sort of faced it myself. One of them was the Daily Mail. Like, they used a headline that was just, they just wanted to get views or sales or reads or whatever it was. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, they just want a story, not the story. And I've realized, maybe not all of them, but a lot of the stuff that was associated with her, like I would have to read the newspapers and stuff for market research and stuff and just see what's going on in regard to Brexit. But you see some of the stuff that they're just talking about, and it's like, you have to take that in because that's all you ever read about her. Do you know what I mean? But when you meet that person, when you meet her in person, she's very open, and she was open with her mistakes. She was like, she's a crap negotiator. That's what she said. Like, she's not good at negotiating. She said, like, blatantly, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, for someone to openly say that, it's like, you actually, like, you're not up yourself. You're quite vulnerable. You're quite open, and that was good to see. I just resonated with her a lot more. Yeah, man. Yeah, she's very different. Like, I've met other politicians that I'm just like, yo, you're annoying. I'm like, damn, you are so arrogant, and I don't want to be around you. And it's like, get away from me. I remember I sat next to David Lammy.
Well,
He is someone I don't want to be around again. Like, we got invited to Ghana Youth Day. So me, him, and a few other people were speaking, and like on the front row were the speakers, and I was sitting next to him, and he was up before me, and he walked on stage, and I don't know what it was, but I don't think someone clapped. Like, people didn't clap or something. So he walked back down and said, "I'm going to do that again," and then walked back up. And I thought, the heck
you think you are? What? Wait,
yeah, it was just that was the first time I had I think that was the first time I actually met him. So that was like my first impression of him. I was like, And then I met him again in Westminster for this roundtable discussion thing, and I mean, he was a bit better, but he still had an element of like this. I don't know.
Wow.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? I mean, I don't want to judge a person, but it's like,
yeah,
I wouldn't want to like be around him. I don't know. I've got a few question marks about him. I don't know. But yeah. So yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that, to be honest with you. But yeah. David Lammy's a
before you say that again.
So David Lammy's a bit of a weird guy.
Oh, I was gonna say, you were mentioning before you've had a little run-in with like some of the media outlets. I just want you to quickly touch upon how you got into the media eye for everyone that doesn't know your story and doesn't know who you are. Because
is this recording already? It's recording. Hey,
we're live, man.
Cut out that. I'm joking. Media. So 2018, I did a short documentary with the BBC about my journey. So I took a quite unconventional route to get to where, I guess, I am today. I was playing football and didn't really want to play football anymore. So then I decided to go and knock on people's doors and just ask them how they became wealthy. And then from there, I guess I just wanted to find out what skills wealthy people had to amass wealth, because I knew that they had something. There was something there was like a correlating factor there, but I just had to find it. So I went and knocked on people's doors and just asked them what they did. And in the process, I met the then CIO of BlackRock, which is an asset management company. And then, the journey just started from there. And he encouraged me to go to uni, which is something I didn't want to do at all. So I went to uni, I studied economics, learnt Mandarin alongside my degree, and then did university for 3 years, did about 4 or 5 internships throughout my university journey, and graduated in 2017, did a short documentary, BBC 2018, and that's when other outlets just started picking up on it. And then I think the first one to pick up on it was actually Daily Mail, to be fair. Daily Mail got in touch, and then this news agency got in touch, Southwest News Services, and then they had Daily Mail and all the other newspapers under their books. So I did the interview with Southwest News Services, and then it distributed to all the other newspapers like Metro, Evening Standard, Times, Guardian, Independent, all of those guys. And then that's when Downing Street got in touch. So they called my workplace and asked if I can come and help them with a project. And then I did that with Downing Street in the Cabinet Office. And then that's when I started to do more stuff with them. And then that's when ITV got in touch. I did it with ITV. I did it with Holly Willoughby and Philip Schofield, This Morning TV show. And then Steve Harvey. And then it was... What was that, Steve Harvey? Then it was smaller ones. So social media platforms like Now This. I'm not sure if you guys know that. Now This. And then just corporations started to get in touch in between that. So started doing talks at law firms, financial institutions, academic institutions. And then I started traveling to do it. So then I went to Germany, went to Spain, went to Portugal, and to start traveling across different countries to just talk about things like policy or my story and social mobility, diversity, and just other stuff that other people wanted me to talk about, really. And then, and then I guess when I started just sharing my story, and then it sort of just changed into other things. I just started talking about what I was passionate about, and then people just started booking me to talk about what I was actually passionate about. So I started to do stuff with Bloomberg, and then I kept going back to, because I started to freelance for BBC. Basically, I did the freelance speaking gig for BBC on a few different things. So I started to do that, and then just started to spark from there. And then Sky News, and I did Sky News, and then I've missed bare stuff in between. Now I'm just trying to relay back what I saw
and now
how
you're
happened,
now you're an influencer.
No, I wouldn't say that, but yeah, now I'm ready.
Mr. Influenza.
Influenza. Just ready, man.
How many times on Instagram have I heard you seen you comment that on his post, bro?
He is, because he is. He's an influencer. He is an influencer.
Nah, man.
If you have been paid for your appearance somewhere, whether you're doing a speech or something like that, or you've been sent products, you are an influencer.
Is that how you judge it? Okay,
that's
then
how I judge it.
I guess I am then, but I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm Reggie, bro. You can, I don't know, but I mean, I've been fortunate. I've been really fortunate. I feel like this is just like God's grace, man, honestly. And I always bring it back to that, because some of the things that have happened over the past sort of two and a half years, it's just so unprecedented. That it's like, these things don't really happen to people like me. Do you know what I mean? Just to be able to sit in the rooms of people that I've been able to sit with, and having people that do have big influence just sitting down and listening to what I have to say and really taking it on board. Do you know what I mean? It is quite it's quite humbling. It's quite humbling. It's a good feeling as well. So I'm grateful, man. I'm just really, really grateful. And that's what I have to say on that, man. I'm just really, really grateful. God's good.
Fortunate to have two influencers today.
Yeah, Renee, you're an influencer as well. So
I have.
Don't be smiling like a smiler.
Huh? No, please don't, please.
Influenza.
Oh, wow. Is that the time? Well, guys, it was so
Boy.
Oh, Lord. Sheds, have you met anyone, just jumping back onto the...
I've met a couple athletes, couple footballers. I feel like the most interesting person, well, the weirdest actually, I met Essien, and he was just very different to how I thought he would be. He's just a very quiet, humble guy. Like, he was just there.
Yeah.
But the way he kind of plays and the way that he's like very strong and on the ball and like kind of dictates midfield, like you'll think that he's more of a outspoken guy, more kind of thing. But this guy was just like this.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
But
He reminds me of like a bigger version of Kante, man, in terms of his demeanor.
Yeah. That's actually how he was. He was actually like Kante. But he just didn't smile as much as Kante. Kante smiles for everything, man.
I see.
But yeah.
Man, that means you must know your football, isn't it?
Oh, snap. My phone's going to die.
I was going to say, I think he must be footballing, isn't it?
Yeah, he knows.
No. Renee. I'll say Renee.
Oh, there's a reason why I just kept my mouth shut for this one. It is well.
Okay. For me, one experience I had in college, I was doing like a football scholarship program, and I met, I don't know if I'm sure the guys know.
I know you're gonna say. I'm just gonna wait for it.
Yeah, Aaron Lennon.
Oh no, that wasn't it.
Oh.
Okay, there's Edgar Davies as well.
Okay then. Okay.
Wait. Hold up.
Okay.
Oh my days. So wait, you mentioned Lennon before Edgar
over Davies. You're doing something wrong. You're doing something wrong, bro.
Wow.
Man said Aaron Lennon over Edgar Davies. Renee, I'm so sorry. This is so like rude.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
Don't worry. I should even go and get like, I don't know, a cup of tea or something whilst you wait. Your little me time there.
No, I was just doing off the dome, man. Please forgive me. Okay, maybe I'll talk about both. You know, I could flip it around. You know what I'm trying to say? So, okay, I met Aaron Lennon, and I got some free sponsorship Nike boots. People really look taller on TV, you know, because when he was playing for Tottenham, this guy looked like 6 foot, maybe 5'11". This guy was very, very short. He was like,
Yeah.
I was like 18, and this guy was like up to my shoulder. He was a really, really, really cool guy. I also met, as everyone mentioned, Edgar Davids. He was on the cover of, I think, don't crucify me.
FIFA 06, I think.
Nah, what? No.
Edgar Davids.
It was 2003, was it?
Yeah, it would have been earlier, something around them times. Yeah.
It was 2002.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
You're right. Oh my god.
You actually might be right. You know, thinking about it. I think it was 2002.
Really? Wow. Funny that.
2003.
Actually,
2003.
Was it 2003?
Yeah, 2003.
Oh, damn.
It was Edgar David, Ryan Giggs, and Roberto Carlos.
Oh,
Okay.
I almost lost
But
my...
to be honest,
Right? I do know, but not for good reason.
But to be honest, FIFA 2003 would have come out in the year 2002, so we'll give you a point as well.
Thank you.
No, but just like meeting them, it's like normally, especially growing up as a kid, your guy, you know, you idolize these footballers, but at least these two that I met in person were really, really down to earth. And it, as Reggie said, when you meet people who are kind of, let's say, larger than life, looking from the outside in, and you find out that they're actually humble and relatable, it kind of inspires you in a way to, if I can say, remain authentic and to yourself. And this all pretty much ties into, I think, the main thing that we can talk about. We're going to talk about something else, unscripted. So sometimes we throw the script in the bin. So I want us to talk about, I don't know if you guys are Transformers fans, but the main... The main slogan of Transformers is "There's more that meets the eye." So I thought we'd have a little conversation in regards to kind of building on the people we've spoken about, experiences and so forth, and kind of relate to ourselves, and not just ourselves, but what we see in our culture today. How, you know, it's so easy to prejudge someone before, you know, you find out their business, what they're going through, what actually really happened to them. And even maybe experiences that you've had yourself, like, for example, Reggie, in the spaces that you've operated in, Renee, the same for you, Shagan as well, where people have maybe judged you from the outside. So anyone can kind of open mic, start sharing. I have to do a little...
I was waiting for
I'll go. Yeah, I feel like in terms of prejudgment, yeah, I don't know. To be fair, I guess there have been some occasions where I've met people and they feel like I'm a lot more open than what they thought I would be. I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if this is true, but I might come off as like standoffish. I don't know. People just, like, if I meet someone or I've spoken at an event, like, I might receive a message saying, "Oh, like, it was so nice to meet you," or like, "Oh, you're nicer in person." I don't know. It's just like, wait, what did you think I was before then? Do you know what I mean? I don't know what type of perception people have, but yeah, I mean, first impressions are everything, to be honest with you. And it is quite hard to change that first impression. So I do.
Just carry on.
Where we at?
Yeah, Reg, tell us.
What was I saying? Sorry, what was the question?
You know, I might actually leave a bit of this on because Unscripted is very laid back and very.
Where's this part of the Unscript?
You were talking about how some people thought you were standoffish and etc.
Yeah, I guess in regards to first impressions, like, some people did think, you know, oh, I might be like standoffish and stuff. I remember someone actually said to me, I shared my story and someone came up to me afterwards and said, when I first met, like, at first I didn't like you. I was like, why? I've never met this person in my life. Never seen this person in my life. And she said, oh, I don't know why. I just didn't like you. But now, you're cool. Well, okay, thanks. Do you know what I mean? I think in some capacity, people do build like first impressions of you in one way or another. I guess just on that point, it is quite like try and make a good first impression wherever you go, kind of thing. That's what I was kind of alluding to before it cut off.
Okay. Renee, you got something as well to share regarding maybe a personal experience, or again, it might be that, or also as big as our culture, what you're seeing and etc.
Yeah, I think I have comments on both actually. So in terms of like personal experience, I always get the whole there's a reason why sometimes I resist, doing the whole hey, I went to Oxford and Harvard situation, because just that alone is enough to change people's perception of me completely. And woe is me if they have heard about the Renee that they've seen online and stuff like that before they've actually met me, because it's like, oh my, she's so intelligent and she's so this and she's so like, oh my God, she speaks. And like, for me, it's always the people always seem to see me as, what's the word for it? Kind of like bougie or kind of like stuffy. Like they'd expect me to be extremely kind of like,
stuck up.
Yeah. And I'm just like, guys, I was born in Tottenham. I was raised in Tottenham. Like, that's not me, even if I tried. And trust me, I even tried and it didn't work out for me. So yeah, it's very difficult, because as much as I really value the spaces and the privileges that I've been afforded, it's really difficult towing that really weird line between like being yourself and being authentic, and then like people's perception of you and how that kind of makes you think and feel about yourself. And I think just commenting more widely on what we're seeing in our generation, I think that with things like social media and, online technology, people assume that the things that you see online are the full story, right? This like increased access that we have to people's lives make people really believe like, oh, if I watch this person's YouTube channel or see their Instagram page or their Twitter page, I've got like the full story. And I think that's what's really emboldened a lot of like trolling. It's emboldened a lot of people to be entitled to their opinion. It's really emboldened a lot of cyberbullying, because people genuinely believe that what they see on a screen about somebody is the full story. And it's such a shame, because it's such a dehumanizing process, like not just for me and of course yourself, Reggie, but also a lot of my other friends that are also influencers or in particularly very in spaces where they're being watched constantly and they're really hyper visible. There comes this weird process of dehumanization where everyone thinks they know you without trying to actually get to know the real you, and it's so frustrating sometimes. So frustrating.
Yeah, no, 100%. That nod was like the biggest agreement I could possibly give.
Agreement.
Yeah, I get.
I find it so weird that people can just look at your profile and feel like they know the whole you. Like as if you go and watch a film or watch EastEnders or something and you see Phil Mitchell, and the Phil Mitchell, the character that he plays on TV is the Phil Mitchell in real life.
Yeah, no,
that's man.
People think that's what it is, because I remember I was in a barbershop and I was waiting to get my hair cut, and I just finished my hair, and then as I was leaving, these two guys was like, oh, sorry, was you on ITV? I was like, yeah. Goes, oh, no, I saw your thing, bro. Congratulations. I was like, oh, thank you. And they said, oh, so did you just like knock on his door, go union, and you got your job? I was thinking, no, bro, like this is I was like, no, this has been like a 7-year journey to get to where I am, bro. Like that small clip that you saw on whatever platform you saw wasn't the full thing. And in regards to what you were saying, Renee, like some people do like take what they see as gospel, like, oh, this happens, so this is it, kind of thing. And I think that's the main reason why I really wanted to write this book, just to focus a lot more on what happens before and like why
I guess I had to take some of the decisions that I had to take in order to get to where I am today, because not everyone gets the full picture of what it's truly like on my end. They only see what's on the camera. I know what's on the camera, you know, it might be a more so of a finished product, but there's so much sort of hard work and so many things that happen in the background that no one got to see, and I really want to shed light on it, just so that they can at least make a judgment on the full picture, not just based on what they see from a 4 or 5 minute clip on BBC or ITV or whatever it is. So yeah, some people do really take what they see as gospel on face value, as opposed to like trying to either ask you or just, I don't know, do a bit more research. So, yeah.
And even going back to what the point Renee touched on regarding like social media and having like these virtual online social profiles, and going on to the slogan. I remember one episode that we filmed last year where you were saying how there was someone who, you know, was on your profile. Obviously, I call you the crepe connoisseur because
yeah.
Listen, I ordered 3 pairs of trainers. They came today. I want to get your approval on them afterwards, though.
Afterwards, let me see.
yeah.
But I remember you were saying how there's someone who went through your social profile and they made a judgment about you, saying, why is this guy buying so many trainers? I can't remember exactly, but I'm sure you remember.
Yeah. So, like Elie was saying, there was one guy, and the funny thing is, I actually did know of the guy, and I thought he was just a normal, cool guy. But anyway, so he's been on my profile now, and he's seen me, like, obviously I have a lot of trainers and all this kind of stuff, and I like to show my trainers, like, it's my thing, not to be like, oh, I have this and you don't have it. It's just a passion of mine, just like I promote my football, anything to do with football, anything like that. It's just a passion, something that I have a genuine interest in. And he went to go and speak to someone else. Now, this person, I'm close with the person that came to come and relay the message to me. And he was like, oh, yeah, look at this shaking guy. Like, he just thinks that, he's so sick and all this kind of stuff. And like, I was just like, bro, number one, it's not even that deep. Number two, you don't even know me like that, like to be coming with that kind of view. So where is this coming from? You've kind of just made a story. You've seen something on the internet and you just kind of made your own story and background. And it's just so funny because I just feel like this is a sign of the times, because like with everything, no one wants to actually do background research. Same with like all of the stuff that we're hearing now. Someone will come and say 5G is causing leukemia, and then no one will do no research. 5G is causing leukemia. Start spreading it around, where there's no real truth or backing behind it. So man, false news, false information, pseudoscience, everything.
Pseudoscience. But you know what? Yeah, there's also like, I've been having this tension for a very, very long time in my life, and I still don't have an answer to it. Whereby, on the one hand, you want people to see you as an individual, as a human. You know, you're complex. There's different layers to you. But then at the same time, like, the other side of that is, how much privacy can we really have again? Like, in the bid to be transparent with people so that people don't judge you, I think there's also this rising culture of like entitlement to people's whole lives. And I think you see that the most with people that are like vloggers or YouTubers or people that are passionate about like social mobility and that kind of stuff, where your story becomes such an integral part of this like influencer, I don't know, character that people have in your mind, that even when people approach you, there's already this entitlement to your full story. And for me, sometimes I don't really feel comfortable, because not necessarily for me, but because there's loved ones that I'm trying to protect as well, right? So to kind of hark on like personal examples, for me, social mobility, like you, Reggie, has always been like one of the things that I love championing like a lot. Yes, come on, I want to see my people thrive. But then at the same time, it also opens doors for people to engage with you on levels that you may not necessarily, not that you don't want to, but you're just like, that's not your lane. So for me, engaging with a lot of young people come to me with like their problems and their issues, and, you know, having those deep one-on-ones, but there comes a time where it's like, you know, I might have to like the entitlement to A, my personal life, and B, the fact that this is something that I shouldn't really be engaging with you on, like you should probably be speaking to a close friend, is because of that like transparency that we're trying to have with people. So like where is how do we toe this fine balance between, you know, trying to show your yourself and trying to show behind the scenes, but then also being afforded the kind of privacy that, like, as human beings, we really should have. So that's something I've always struggled with, always, and probably will continue to.
In a way, I don't even feel like we can even reach a real balance. The moment that you put yourself out to the world, you should just expect a judgment, because you're not in control of the comments that people are going to leave. The only real way to kind of control it is to kind of put like an enforcement or someone to kind of regulate like people's comments and people's like views that are really being put out on all these kind of social platforms. And how hard is that? I mean, YouTube are kind of trying to do that in a sense. Like they kind of filter and really go through, a lot of scrutiny in regards to like the views that people express on their platform. But I mean, places like Instagram, Twitter, they're just a playground. So I don't really feel like you can really put yourself out on these kind of platforms and not expect anything. Like people are gonna go at you. So the only real way of actually maintaining that privacy is if you live a private life.
But then I also feel like, sometimes I see people commenting on certain things on like Twitter and Instagram, and I'm just thinking, do you actually forget that these people are human too? And this is not necessarily towards me, but like even towards like celebrities and stuff. I'm just like, you guys have actually sat down and done keyboard warrior to go and be saying XYZ about somebody's family and their life and wishing ill stuff on them. And I'm just like, that's a human being, you know?
I always remember, like, I think someone told me this quite early on, and I was really fortunate that, like, they told me some people genuinely have nothing to do, which is why they sit down and they troll. And some people literally wake up, the same way that we wake up, we brush our teeth and we get ready for work or whatever we need to do. Some people wake up and get ready to troll. That is their, you collect trainers, you study, you are really creative, Elie. Some people just love trolling. Like, that's all they do. Yeah. I remember Theresa May tweeted me, but it wasn't Theresa May. She has a social media person. And I was at it on one of the tweets. Like, we did a project, like, oh, thank you, Reggie, blah, blah. And obviously, when people reply, I see all the replies on that. People are rude. Like, people are rude. I saw there must have been about 500 replies. Every single reply. I find these things so funny. So I read through most of them. And people were racist. People were, I saw bigots on there. I saw people that were condescending, people that had no remorse for anyone's feelings. It's like, you just have to realize that some people are just going to troll. There's an interview of me on Sky News. If you look up on the comments, someone actually calls me a Buell Mason, which is like, it's like I describe it like a black Freemason type.
Wow.
And it's like, Buell Mason, like, come on, like, do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous.
He's just trying to mind his business. Wow.
It's ridiculous. And the funny thing is, that interview had nothing to do with Mason. Nothing, like, nothing to do with it. And it's like, you read through some of the comments, and people make this judgment. It's like, how have you done this? And some people just, it's crazy, man. So, I mean, in regard to what you said, Renee, it's like, that whole balance thing, I just feel like if you do want to sort of make change and sort of want to pioneer something, then you have to be aware that there are going to be trolls and there are going to be people that just quite sadly like have nothing better to do than to troll you. And as long as you know they're trolls, then that can sort of give you more comfort to say that you're just wasting time. I feel like sometimes the annoying thing comes from people that think they actually know what they're talking about, and you sort of have to go back and forth with them and stuff like that. But that's another story for another day, I guess. But, yeah. So I have a 2-year-old outside my room. So if you hear someone crying,
I was thinking probably like the last thing to touch on with like everything that's been said is, do you think, looking at kind of taking a step back, looking at both sides, that there comes some good from, for example, Reggie, Renee, or even Shakes, someone approaching you, maybe with ill feelings or already with prejudgment, there comes an opportunity where you can actually not showcase, but maybe reveal the truth or have your moment, for example, to Yeah, basically show the true side, because obviously, there's more that meets the eye, etc., etc. Or do you think there is not really any balance, and it's just a thing where you don't really have energy? There shouldn't be any energy given to that. What you guys take on that? Thinking time.
I think we can put the same face, you know.
I think it depends. I think it's a sticky one. There are some people. Yeah, there are some people who will have their prejudgments about you, and they will take the time to listen, like they're open-minded. But then after, obviously, there are the other side of people that you meet in life where they're kind of just stuck in their ways, and obviously by you like engaging in their kind of warfare, it's just a waste of time. That's my simple kind of.
I agree.
Say so.
I agree. I think it does depend. Some people, there's no real point of trying to go back and forth with, because their mind is so fixated on who they think you are already. And there are some people that might have a wrong perception of you, and if you are given a chance to change that, then you should take it. I think that's why I don't like to make judgments on people before I know them. I like to give them like a waiver of benefit of doubt, because like for Theresa, I always go back to it, because I really did have this thing in my head of like, Theresa May is a robot and she has no feelings and she's really, really stern. And the way she just changed my mind on it was just so amazing. And that was a lesson that I took for myself going forward. Just like, never have like a prejudgment of someone before you actually talk to them. And once you do talk to them, then I guess you can sort of make your mind up on whether that's someone that you sort of want to, I guess, go forward with or not, kind of thing. But yeah, I think it does depend. Based on your question, Elie, I think it does depend.
I pretty much agree. I think, like, if you're coming to me with the energy of like, I have a preconceived notion about you, I have negative energy towards you, I don't want to be put in a situation where I need to validate my humanity because you've already got whatever idea you have of me. You have not met me before. In this particular case, I do think that there's always opportunity to have the conversation, but I think it's a value judgment, as both of you guys have said already, insofar as asking yourself, what value does this engagement bring? And sometimes, when it's, for me, I always think about like, what are kind of like the long-term ramifications this could have, as well as who does this impact if I engage in this conversation? So if, somebody has a, I guess, wrong impression of me or some kind of impression of me, and it might be that there's, a group or a demographic or a couple of people that actually have that impression of me, it might be worth actually engaging and thinking, oh, like, what is it about myself that I'm putting out that's not translating as well?
Yeah.
Because I think sometimes there's also the assumption that like, oh, this is just one hater, like, everybody's hating on me, that kind of stuff. But sometimes you actually need to evaluate if it's more than one person. Like, maybe it's not that somebody's hating on you. Maybe it's something that you have put out about yourself has been lost in translation, and it might need some form of iteration to be able to get that message across. So in that case where, it's something that you may be bumping up against more often than once, it might be worth engaging with. Thinking about like personal examples, for me, like I didn't really like posting much kind of like personal stuff about me when I was in university, because I was very much focused on, I just want to get my degree, I want to be getting out of here, and that's like, there's a lot of like warfare going on behind the degree. But because it was so opaque, a lot of people didn't actually know, what was it like to be, for example, a black person at an Oxford or a black person at Harvard. And being able to have that conversation with people that were interested and may have had the wrong impression made it a lot easier for that to kind of like change that impression. So I think, it's very much based on how much value that conversation may bring, and to what extent that can help you in making sure that whatever you do put out hits the nail as closely as you want it to.
Yeah, spot on.
That's true. But that being said, there are still some people that will still have a view of you, whether you like it or not. Like, they're still going to...
Jagger's holding on to that.
Do you know what? It's because like, even before like the whole social media thing, like, I don't want to talk about myself too much, but there's been people that, I don't know, people perceive me as a kind of cool guy kind of thing, like, in terms of the music I listen to. I'm into like arts and fashion, all this kind of stuff. So people kind of perceive me as a cool person. But I feel like with that, a lot of people, in a sense, have also had a perception of me as well, and they think of me as like some any guy. A lot of people even think I'm uneducated as well, which is so funny. From secondary school guys, they think I'm just like one clown or something. So like, what'd you say? You don't know.
No, they don't know, bro. Like, even just to interrupt you quickly, when I tell people that, you know, this guy did biochem, you're like, what? Oh, him? Like, I'm thinking, why not? So,
that's what I mean. That's what I mean. So in a sense, like, I don't feel like you can ever really even change anyone's impression of you, and I don't think you should actually even live to try and change someone's perception of you or be thinking about that, because do you really, like, it kind of brings up the whole like argument of like, you're not trying to be like accepted, you're not trying to be tolerated in the scene where you're in, you want to be accepted, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, I do get what you mean. I think there's sort of a fine balance between that as well, though. Like, I guess it depends on what type of, I guess, room or environment you're trying to get into, because especially like with like the sector I work in, news travels very fast, right? And everyone's interconnected. So if one person has a really bad perception of you, news can travel very, very quickly. Do you know what I mean? And I guess if you are trying to pioneer something or really try and make change for something, and the people that you need in order to make that change have this poor perception of you, then it does make your journey a lot harder. If that makes sense. So I'm all for what you're trying to say, and I do agree with what you're trying to say. But I feel like sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, if there is an opportunity for you to maybe change someone's perception of you because they might have the wrong end of the stick, then by all means grab it with both hands. But if it is something that you are generally being yourself and they probably see it for something else, or they see it in the wrong way, then yeah, you don't owe them anything in regards to that. You're not indebted to them. So it does, for me personally, it does really depend on, I guess, why you want to change their perception of you as opposed to who has a specific perception of you. So yeah.
Just want to ask. Oh,
my bad. Let me land this.
No,
one
ladies first.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Stop! I'm blushing again. But I think broadening out that conversation as well is the whole, like, sometimes it's not even just the fact that you're bumping up against like people's perceptions, like singular, but also society's perception of you, like plural. So when both you, Reggie and Shagan, were talking about like the fact that there are certain people that you need, and I don't want to speak on your experience, but I can imagine, and from my experiences, particularly as a Black woman from a working class background, there are certain stereotypes and certain narratives that are already out there about you. And it's not even that a case of you like fighting against trolls per se, but you're also fighting against intangible things where there are people who may not necessarily be super malicious, but they're still perpetuating certain stereotypes or certain ideas about you because of what you may potentially represent to them in their mind. So like the fact that, you know, some people couldn't believe that you studied biochem, Shagan, I was kind of just thinking, right, like there's a lot of Black male friends that I have that are stupidly intelligent, but in terms of like them bumping up against the societal idea of like their position in the like society's food chain or whatever is really difficult. And then for someone like you, Reggie, who has been in some ridiculous, like crazy circles, like you've really been doing bits out here, and thinking about some of, you know, the very racialized remarks that you have come up against as well, I wonder, like, there's also a wider conversation to be had about how, like, generally all of us, and all of us, like, plural, are like fighting against these, like, the wider framework, like what society says about us and our character, who we represent and stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%, I agree.
Solid, wow. That was actually a really, really, really good episode. And I think that definitely anyone, you know, that watches, the watching part is going to have a lot of editing done. Don't worry. By the way, I thought your DVA license, you know, I have to edit that out now, you know. Give me more work, bro.
Oh yeah, so someone.
100%. And the Tsunami thing, if you want to just block out, actually I don't care, but if you want to block it out, you can.
Block it out.
But no, this episode was dope. Very real, and it's just so refreshing to see a very real topic like this that relates to anybody, you know, any kind of ethnicity, background, social status. A topic like this is what we deal with on a daily basis. You know, from the moment we even switch on our phones, this is something that sometimes, more than often, we have to confront or even think about. So, you know, as we try and do like every episode, someone leaves, you know, listening to this and actually getting more value than they probably even expected to leave with as well. So, like, it was a pleasure, big pleasure to have you guys, Reggie and Renee.
Yeah.
Both names starting with R. I didn't even plan
You say
that.
both of you are.
Question. What college do you study at in Oxford?
Keyboard.
Okay. I did a short leadership program at Magdalen College.
No way. Did you like it?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Woodland's one of my up there colleges, so that's good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
We're at Magdalen doing as like a leadership program in politics. So I was there, and I like went to the deer park and all the rest of it, and it's nice. Definitely nice. And I also did a debate at the Oxford Union.
Nice. Oh gosh, you're a regular boy. When did you do these things, please?
Summer. Summer's gone. Yeah, summer just gone.
Oh damn. Okay, I wasn't there. Well, damn.
Yeah, summer just gone. Yeah, it was sick. First ever debate as well. So it was...
Wow. Oxford is really beautiful. There's a lot of white people there, though. I'm sure you know. Never white. But
Actually, quick question for the both of you.
His head so hard.
Quick question for the both of you. Renee, going to Oxford, and you, Reggie, as well, being in like all the different like environments that you've had to be to work and like all of that. Have you guys ever had to kind of change or alter the way you kind of present yourself to kind of fit in with the audience that you have? So whether that was you, Renee, in uni, or Reggie, like even like working with the Prime Minister or anything like that, have you ever had to kind of not be yourself, if you get what I mean? Well, not 100% yourself.
There's the borderline, and I always, whenever anyone asks me a question similar to that, I always say, "There's a game. You need to learn how to play the game and never lose yourself." And that is, you have to be able to be in the game. So there are certain things you need to know. Like, I'm not going to say like there's a certain way you speak, but you need to speak in a way where it can resonate with them in some way, shape, or form. Like for me as a guy, little things like the type of tie that you wear. Like I've got, it's quite funny. I've actually got the same tie. You know, I've got the same tie as Boris Johnson. I kid you not.
Hey.
So accidental.
Guys, we're speaking to the future Prime Minister here.
Come on.
Wait.
But it's actually there. Like even things like my suits. I don't wear belts. I've learned to basically tailor all of my suits. So.
That's it. Come
like,
on.
I don't wear a belt with my suit. My suits basically have like side adjusters on the side of them, and that's because like with Quinton, I realized that when I went to like dinner with him and stuff, I just saw all of the guys, the people you're speaking to, like they have side adjuster trousers as well. So I was like, it's like I've sort of like to pick up on these little things by myself. Like, okay, this is how I need to do it. Like my shoes. Let me show you my shoes. I've got these shoes, yeah. I'll show you. I'll read them. But honestly,
it's a tour.
No. These are my loafs, yeah. They're like leather loafers, yeah. And the reason why I got these is because I saw 3 people that I really look up to have them. One, I don't really look up to him, but one guy I know, he I can't really say his name, but he's really quite up there. One of the old CEO of Deutsche had those shoes, and then someone else had those shoes. And I realized that loafers are almost like they almost have a statement. So, okay, let me go buy some loafers. Do you know what I mean? I don't really care, but I bought them just so that when I go into these rooms, they'll be like, okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So feel like there's these little things where I've picked up for myself, and I've started to do like the type of tie I wear, how I wear my suits, the type of shirts I wear, even to my cufflinks. Like my cufflinks, I don't care about this stuff, but I've got them engraved. Yeah. But just so like the cufflink, it stands out, and like yeah, it's just these little things where I've had to just learn, pick up, so that when I'm in these rooms, they're not like, why is this guy here? I need to be able to be in that room, but I don't lose myself in that room. So I don't compromise my values. I don't compromise who I am. I don't compromise the fact that I'm from East London. I don't ever say, oh, I'm from X. I'm from East London. I was raised on a council estate, and I'm in the same room as you. That's all you need to know. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, to answer your question, like, there's a game, you got to play it, but don't lose yourself in the process. Don't lose yourself.
100. Very much for everything that Reggie said. Obviously, me, I don't have my cufflinks yet. Sorry, I'm sure. I don't have my cufflinks, but I got my heels, so don't worry.
Come on, the heels. I've heard about the heels. I've heard about the heels.
Stop. I had to listen. I had to practice to get there because it was.
Listen,
I've heard long for my. But it's very, very, very much a game that needs to be played, and there's very kind of like subtle cultural things that you need to pick up. So for me at Oxford, it was such a culture shock because even basic things like going to dinner at 7 p.m. and wearing a stupid gown when you go to dinner. Fam, I was wearing my pajamas, but I had to wear a gown for tradition. Eating 7 6-course meals with like 10 different types of cutlery. I'm just like,
the knife and forks one swung me.
Wow.
There's 3 knives and 3 forks. I don't get it.
I'm just like, and you know what? The worst thing is the thing you're even eating will be this small. As in this small. And you've given me 3 pieces. Fam, you've given me 3 pieces of cutlery to be eating this small thing, but it is well. But yeah, no, in terms of like very small cultural things, as well as the clarity of your expression, the certain in Harvard, they love to call it code switching, particularly for African Americans, where they're able to, be down in the hood and all that kind of stuff, but be able to swing you verbally when it comes to debates and all that kind of stuff. And I think for myself, and definitely I can relate, Reggie, this whole being able to keep yourself, keep your values, keep your principles. Like you, I'm a North London babes. I will sing about Tottenham from now to my dad. But if it comes to a debate, if it comes to advocating on behalf of particular demographics, if it comes to, engaging in cultural conversations or, going to events and that kind of stuff, I will still swing you too. And even for girls, for example, being able to adjust, and wear like, I feel like you guys have it so much easier because you can just wear suits and tailored stuff and like you have like some form of uniformity to it. Whereas for girls, it's a lot more complicated in like you have to wear particular dresses that don't show off too much because for a lot of women as well, particularly like Black women, when you wear certain like dresses and stuff, like people will over sexualize you anyway. So being conscious of that kind of stuff as well. Yeah, it's a game that needs to be played. There's a very, very fine balance between the two. If you go too far in, then I feel like you've lost everything. Like there's no point in getting that far if you can't even recognize who you were when you entered, the race in the first place. But then if you're still like resolute and not open to change, then you're not going to be able to access the spaces that you need to have the most change. So it's really you gotta play the game, honey. You gotta play.
Facts. Wow, that is it, man. That is it. Literally, that is it. That is it, man. Shagan, that is it, man. That is it. I feel like you drop the mic then, man. What you said, just drop the mic and just... But you know what's funny though? Like it is very easy to lose yourself in that environment.
Oh yeah.
I think depending on your like your goals for it, like some people go into that environment because it can be like financially rewarding, for example, and it's like once you have that in your mind, you start to compromise. So I've seen people go in one way and they do come out another way. It's like I can't really recognize you. Do you know what I mean? Like there are a few people where I can't, and like that's I wouldn't say that's one of my biggest fears, but I wouldn't want to be that person that I set myself on this goal and I almost try to carry my estate on my back and be like, yo, I'm gonna pave the way for these younger people, and then once I get to a certain level, I don't send the elevator back down. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't have a person. So yeah, there is a fine line, but yeah, you've got to be able to just play the game, man. Play the game. Play it.
It's all about the game and how you play it.
From Reggie and his loafers and tailored suits.
You know what I mean? And the tie. Don't forget about the tie. Don't forget about the tie.
I'll show you. This is a couple of
That's how I go for a real one. Come on.
I don't care about I don't really see it anyway, but you know when like it shows a little bit and they see it like
it's just under the blazer, just a little bit.
It's
the detail. I'm telling you, you will be sat. Listen, you'll go to a dinner and you'll be sat next to the CEO of like Deutsche Bank, and it's only when you reach over and you know they see a coupling or something, they'll see that you're a serious candidate. That's
the one. Preach.
Wow.
So I think the time is running down. 2 minutes 30 seconds. But what I was gonna say actually, maybe the last thing is just going into that whole conversation as well. It brought a quote into my mind. I think it's quite deep, quite thoughtful. Is if you're not yourself, who are you? Not you. Who are you? Who are you trying to be? Like, who?
Yeah. No, facts. I mean, that's that. Just going back to the point, you can't leave yourself. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, yeah, man. Like, because we all have like people we aspire to be like when we go into certain industries or certain roles or whatever.
There's less than 1 minute on this thing, you know.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Yeah, there are certain people that we do try to imitate, but I feel like if you are yourself, just be yourself, man. Be yourself.